We called on the workers as well to really occupy the place and to fight for nationalisation. Unfortunately, that did not happen. If those workers had a few shop stewards, like the Lindsay oil workers, just a few, even 2 or 3 or 4 who had a strategy and an understanding of how a battle could be engaged in, that could have been an historic struggle, and a struggle, in my view, that would be successful in the massive support that it would get in society. Unfortunately, it did not happen. Both in the course of the Euro election campaign, we were able to illustrate very clearly what should have happened, and also what the programme should be with regard to companies like this. Now, I think it's because of those issues, anger at the crisis, the search for an alternative as people not fully understanding, if you like, or not fully agreeing, in the case of everybody, with a full socialist programme that we put, but understanding that an alternative is needed. But crucially as well, seeing over a decade or two the record of the Socialist Party as a fighting organisation that fights uncompromisingly for the interests of working people. It was all that led to the result that came about on the 5th of June. And incredibly, it really shocked the establishment, the media, and the whole lot. In the election count, we had 52,000 first preference votes, a few thousand ahead of the Sinn Féin candidate who was the sitting MEP. We then have a process of elimination at PR, I'm not sure if it's the same here, proportional representation. The lower candidates, including the Sinn Féin candidate, were eliminated. We had the second Tory party and the Labour Party elected, and then we had the third seat to be filled. And that then was going to be a direct contest between ourselves and the leading capitalist party, which is also in the government, Fianna Fáil. And the way it fell out for the final vote was the Socialist Party, 82,000 votes, Fianna Fáil, 70,000 votes. For the first time since the European Parliament institutions had parliamentary elections, the main capitalist party in the capital city was left without a seat. And that was done by the Socialists. Chairwoman and comrades, just to sum up, I think there are two things that immediately arise for us. I am just one seat in 700 plus in the parliamentary meetings in Strasbourg. As you can see, it will be rather difficult to use the platform. Even getting time to speak alone with that number is a problem. We were able to use the platform in Ireland, nevertheless. There was more time to speak. But really what this does point out is that most of my action in Parliament, we will use the structures of the European Parliament, of the committees, etc. I'm trying to get on the committee that's dealing with workers' rights and, from our point of view, opposition to the race to the bottom. We will try to use them as much as possible, absolutely. But really it is outside the Parliament, in the arena of the working class and the labour movement, that most of the work will have to be done. We have to build solidarity, as was indicated here earlier, across borders as well. We will use our parliamentary position to try and build links between workers who are struggling in different European countries and bring them together, just as the Totals and the rest of them are massively organised at the top. It is the major corporations in Europe that run the European economy. They're the ones who dictate policy to the European Commission. That's quite clearly the case. The working class needs a similar level of organisation and of commitment. And our first challenge immediately then is that we now have a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty in October. You might know that we defeated the Lisbon Treaty after a tremendous campaign of discussion and debate last year, but the ruling classes in Europe went berserk because it derailed the plans that they have for the European Union, which is an intensification of neoliberalism, privatisation and so on, to copper fasten the race to the bottom, the Lavals and all the rest of it to continue to be inbuilt into the treaties, and an intensification of the militarisation and increase in armament spending. They are three of the key issues that we highlighted. We defeated a whole movement defeated the Lisbon Treaty last year. They didn't accept the democratic wish. We now are into another debate. So we will use our position, again, to take a class perspective and class opposition in the course of the next months. And no matter what the outcome, and there is huge pressure on Irish people now. They are terrifying the people in the media, etc., that this the economic crash and crisis means that you have no option except you have to vote for the Lisbon Treaty. But nevertheless, we will have a strong campaign based on working people, on ordinary people, on unemployed people, and on the young people. That will be crucial. And the last point is, I think, the question again of political representation for the working class. This is assuming ever more greater urgency in Ireland, obviously in Britain, and throughout Europe. The vacuum that exists on the left is just incredibly huge, particularly against the background of crisis that we face at the present time. And it is critical that we direct our attention in that direction. We must keep raising the need for a new political voice for working people that will take its place in the councils, in the various parliaments and in the European Parliament, and fight uncompromisingly for the type of ideas that we are talking here today. Not places to feather the nests of a new breed of elected people on the backs of the working class, but of fighting representatives who will live on the average industrial wage, plus legitimate expenses. Who will be accountable democratically to the parties that are created, who will publish their accounts on an annual basis in a transparent and open way, who will be uncompromising fighters on each issue that arises, and also on the need for an overall alternative to transform our society. That is a challenge that faces us. We cannot conjure it up, obviously, out of our heads, or simply by wishing it, or simply by proclaiming that it is the case. It is from the struggles of working people, the type of struggles we heard here about, the type of struggles that I have no doubt will develop in Ireland, where the workers' heads are down a bit at the present time. That will change. The struggles that will develop will also throw up in the consciousness of working people the need for political, clear, class-based representation. And that then goes hand in hand with the industrial struggle, with community struggles, with struggles in other form, to build a new alternative that will put working people in the position of being able at a certain stage to take democratic control of our society and then resolve, for once and for all, the horrific problems that we and the working class are dealing with at the present time.